morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Ambition for Breakfast, where we bring you food for thought
and inspiration for your soul.
On today's super special episode, we have CEO of Masters of Balayage, Ryan Weeden. If you don't know Ryan, you have been living under a rock. He is a boss in the beauty industry. He has built an empire, an amazing team behind him, and is also the host of the Hairpreneur Show. So he is a fellow podcaster. We had so much fun just picking his brain about all things business and where he plans to go in the future.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So we're going to be talking all about Masters of Balayage and just his recommendation for, how to handle the pandemic and how to really switch gears and create more revenue streams. That was kind of like the theme of our conversation, which we're really excited about. I have worked with Ryan for a few years now, and he is an editor influencer as well. And he's just absolutely incredible to work with. And his drive and hustle is absolutely contagious. So we're so excited for you guys to get to know him a little bit more today.
And it's almost like a rags to riches story in that he really built himself up from nothing. He went from, collecting cans to make some extra cash to dabbling into a lot of different industries. So really, whether you're in the beauty industry or not, you have so much to learn from Ryan. And especially if you're an entrepreneur, his advice will really inspire and help you out.
Ryan truly is the Tony Robbins of the beauty industry, and we're so excited for you guys to get to know him more on our episode.
Enjoy.
You guys, we're so excited for our guest today. We have Ryan Weeden in the house at Ambition for Breakfast. We're so excited to have him.
A man who really needs no introduction, a podcaster himself, a CEO, boss in the beauty industry. Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
You got it. I love any opportunity to get on podcasts, and especially Ambition for Breakfast. The title, I am here.
Yes, amazing. I know. Somebody asked me yesterday, like, who thought of Ambition for Breakfast? I'm like, this is Karen. She's like, Karen's a genius.
That's a great title.
The thing about us being a duo is like we have really like complementary skills. So yeah, I mean, Brianna has like sparks of creativity all day that I'm just like, oh my God, I would never have thought of that.
Same. Well, we're so excited because it's very, very unique because we have Ryan, who is one of our editor influencers and, very, very much an amazing business partner for our company, and also a friend and boss and just inspiration to the entire industry. And we just want to kind of get started from like the top level of like where you got started and, how you became a hairstylist. 'Cause we know your story, but we want our listeners to hear your story too.
It's funny. I've told this story so many times and it's a little bit different every time I tell it. I'm like, okay, how can I shorten this story and just really get to the juicy parts of it?
Yeah.
Let's see. So being a hairdresser, it's not something I ever really wanted to do or thought I would do, or it was just never even like, I never even considered it. I wanted to be an actor ever since I can remember when I was young, but I grew up in the 70s, well, not 70s. Geez, that makes me sound really old. I was born in the 70s, but I grew up in like the 80s and 90s. And during that time, entrepreneurialism, that's a nice word, is what wasn't really a thing you did. There were people that were entrepreneurs and they made a lot of money, but it wasn't like a really sought after profession. You either were pushed to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, something that's going to give you a steady paycheck, something that is going to give you some retirement benefits in the future. And that was like the goal. You go to school, you go to extra school, and you get some kind of a diploma that's going to like give you an automatic start with a big salary, or at least a salary. Whereas entrepreneurialism, you had your few success stories here and there, but most of the time it was just like, oh, okay, when are you going to get a real job? Right. So it wasn't something that people really shot for. Now, I did go to college and I took a bunch of science classes thinking that, okay, sure, I'm following the doctor route. I'm going to take anatomy. I'm going to take OChem. I'm going to take all these terrible, boring classes that didn't fit who I am as a person at all. But I just felt like that's just kind of what I had to do. I got to my senior year, not anywhere near becoming a doctor. I probably would have had to stay there for a couple more years in order to finish the classes I need to finish. But then I decided this is not my path. I want to be an actor. I've been wanting to be an actor forever. And I just never took the steps because I was afraid to get in front of a camera. I was afraid to put myself out there. And now I've had this epiphany that like, this is the direction I need to go in. So I changed my major senior year. My parents had pretty much a heart attack, but I'm like, I'm not gonna be a doctor anymore. I'm gonna be an actor. And I'm changing my major to dramatic arts. Are you cool with that? After they're like, no, I'm not cool with that. They finally came around like, okay, do what you got to do. Whatever. We support you. We're not going to give you any more money, but we support you. And I changed my major to dramatic arts, got an acting degree, took outside acting classes. And then I moved to New York City right after college to be a full-fledged actor, which really means when you're starting out as acting, you're a full-fledged server, restaurant worker, bartender, whatever you can do to do auditions and whatnot on the side. And that's what I was doing. And although I was like really enjoying the journey, I wasn't a good actor. I was a very new actor. I didn't have years of experience behind me. So I was trying to figure things out. And I just wasn't really tapped into myself, my authentic self, which is, I bet I could crush it on screen now.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Are in front of the camera.
But now I am in a different way. But back then I was still this shy kid that had these big aspirations, but just didn't have what it took. And I didn't have the experience acting. I didn't have any dancing ability, and I still really don't. I'll dance. I'm terrible. And singing, I can carry a tune now, but I'm still not good enough to sing in a play. And back then you needed to be at least be able to act and dance and move. I mean, singing, you didn't really necessarily have to, but I mean, you're in New York and almost every single play in New York requires singing. As much as I love New York and as much as I loved acting, I saw a lot of my friends at the time that were at different ages. Some of them were considerably older than me because, actors kind of group together, they hang out together. They're all doing the same thing. They're all doing weekly auditions. They're all trying to get ahead, get that big break while they're waiting tables. And I was looking ahead at my life and I didn't like what I saw. I didn't want to be a struggling artist forever. I didn't care that much about acting to commit my entire life to just doing the craft. I'm like, I want to make some money. I want to have a family. I want to have a comfortable lifestyle eventually. And this is not the path for me. I don't see any big breaks coming. So shortly after I was there during September 11th, that was a big eye opener for me. And of course, for the world, for a lot of reasons, but for me too, it's just, that was at that moment when I was there for 9/11 and actually witnessed the towers collapsing. I'm like, I got to get out of here. This is not for me. And I'm just wanted to rethink my life and my goals and where I wanted to see myself and where I'd be happiest. And I decided to move back west. I stayed with my parents for a few months in Las Vegas. I waited tables and bartended on the Vegas Strip and lived life like a vampire for 6 months. I think it was 6 months I was there, not 3 months. And then I'm like, okay, funny enough, I ended up just getting really stoned one night. And I'm like, I'm going to go back to school. I've had some pretty good stoner epiphany. Yeah. Like it just like shifts your brain a little bit, the way you think. So I decided to go back to school and back to that track of, okay, well, I'm not going to be a doctor. Maybe I'll be a physical therapist. We'll try that, because it's like, I'll try the creative side, the entrepreneurial side, then I'll try something stable. Then I'll go back to that. This is my whole life has been searching for where I fit in the world. And then I went back to school. Wasn't long before I realized, I hate it. I still hate it. But I was still doing the motions because I didn't really know what else to do. I started dating a girl at that time, and her mom happened to be this hairdresser up in the Bay Area of San Francisco. She had started doing hair later in her life because she had a divorce and wasn't making any money during that. I guess she was, I just don't think she was working. And then she's realized, okay, I got to make some money. I got to work because I don't have any of that income from her ex-husband anymore. And then she decided to get into hair and went to hair school and made a lot of money in a short amount of time and had a really happy, fun career. She's like, Ryan, have you ever thought about doing hair? And I'm like, no. She's like, well, I think you should try it out. She's like, do you know how well men do in this business? And I'm like, no, I don't. And I'm like, well, you know what? It's just something else, something new. I haven't thought about it. And I started doing a little bit of research on hairstyling and in the hair business. And I'm like, this is kind of cool. I could check this out, and, I don't have any problem hanging out with beautiful women and making them even, more, bringing out their inner beauty as well. So I decided to go to hair school. I quit the hair, quit the school that I was going to. It was actually Santa Barbara Community College, which I was actually taking these other science classes. And then I just shifted again. I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. No more anatomy classes, no more cadavers. They stink.
Yeah.
Get them away from me. Not for me. Then I went over to the cosmetology side of it because I had a cosmetology department there as well. And I just transferred over there. It was super cheap because I was paying my own way. And I'm like, this fits. I can afford it. And I want to check it out. So I went there and walked in on day one. It was maybe our class was about maybe 15, 20, 30 people. I can't remember how many exactly, but there was 2 guys, me and one other guy, and went in there. And I just have to say, I felt like a piece of meat.
Oh my gosh.
And I loved it. I'm like, there's something to this. You know, not that that's a good thing for other people to feel, but for me, I was like, this is new. You know, I kind of like the attention that I'm getting from this, and let me see if I like what I'm doing here with the actual hairstyling and hairdressing as a career. So I started to really find that I loved it. It was so new, it was a new skill, but I could combine both my creativity and my left brain, the side of me that really wanted to explain things and figure things out. And that part of my brain is a little bit science driven, which is why I kept going back to school for that. But didn't want to focus on it solely, and I also wanted to be creative. And I felt like it was just the perfect marriage of the two. And then I found out that I could also, yes, it could be a stable career, but I could also be an entrepreneur in it. And like it all just started to make sense to me. And I just started to get really, really good at it. And, started to go from there. That was actually a pretty quick story. I think I talked really fast, but
I know that your career journey spans many different industries, the entertainment industry, the beauty industry, even being a real estate agent as part of that. So like, I know that when you first pursued your passion of acting and it didn't work out, like at that moment, it can be really soul crushing if your dream doesn't pan out the way you want it to be. Like, what advice would you give to people who are kind of at that point in their lives where they're kind of at a low and trying to find what they're passionate about?
Don't give up. Keep trying new things. Find things that inspire you and give it a go. There are people that make businesses out of the most bizarre hobbies, and some of them become even millionaires from doing it. I would say for me, the biggest advice was always following my passion. For things that I didn't like, I just stopped doing. For things that I really enjoy, I went deeper into it. And if I made money from it, great. If not, it still made me happy. It still made my soul sing. I think we are all able to find some passion that we have and find ways to make money doing it. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take, okay, well, I really love, basket weaving. How can I make money basket weaving? Should I make baskets and sell them on Shopify online, or should I teach other people how to make baskets with an online course? Like there are so many different avenues for doing that. And I think that once you start to dive in to your hobby, learn as much as you can and become a master of that hobby, that side hustle, that it doesn't even have to be a hobby. It could just be your business. It could be salon ownership. Like I have a salon. How can I make more money than the minimum wage that I'm pretty much making from owning a salon? Like I could franchise it. I could have more people. I could focus more on hiring the right people and making sure clients are constantly coming in and buying more retail and get a whole system behind it. If you love owning a salon and you want to find ways to really tap into the full potential of it.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think I've heard you speak about this before, how you really utilized social media to grow your business. So, back when you were in New York, as a hairdresser, you were, flagging people down on the street, you were utilizing Yelp to get reviews. Is that something that you teach a lot to people that you're mentoring? Like always take advantage of social media?
Well, definitely. Yeah. Social media was a big reason for the growth of Masters of Balayage. We got in there pretty early, and I saw that this new platform was really taking off, and I wanted to be part of it, and I didn't know where it was going to go, of course. Same thing with Yelp. I mean, that's also to a degree, it's like social media, it's public media. Yelp was such a big proponent in boosting my own business here in San Diego, which I As you had mentioned, I went up to people on the street when I didn't have any clients, because there was a point when I actually quit doing hair because I didn't see the potential, then came back into the hair. And that's when I did the whole real estate thing and tried other couple of things and got introduced to internet marketing, and which I helped me years later. But Yelp was what I really focused on initially to really grow my business behind the chair. And I had a very small business behind the chair, and then eventually moved into a salon suite situation. And I didn't have that many clients. I'm one person. How many clients can I really take? Can I really compete with the amount of clients that are at a big salon? No. If they have hundreds or thousands a month, I've got maybe, 30, 40, 50, something like that. And that's when I was really busy. But what I did is I made sure that every single one of those people was putting a review on there, was recommending me on there, which is what other businesses didn't do. They didn't actively seek to get their reputation boosted with the 5 stars. They didn't create it like a sales job where I had a spreadsheet. I'm like, okay, I have asked Samantha 7 times if she would recommend me on Yelp. And, she always says she's always happy. She always says she will, and I don't like beat it to them. I'm not like, buy or die, but kinda, he's always said it in a very nice way. Like, oh, if you get a chance, I would greatly recommend, I appreciate a 5-star recommendation on Yelp. And, oh yeah, of course I will. Of course I will. But our happy clients need a little extra push, because it's the ones that we piss off that are like, I'm going to Yelp that MF,
Yeah.
I'm going to tear his business down. But it's the happy ones that never go on there and do it because they're happy. They leave with their beautiful hair and then they go about their business. So we have to almost nicely hound them until they do it, until they finally sometimes sit in your chair and they're looking up at you and they're like, crap, I forgot to do the review. I'll do it right now. I'll pull up their phone and do it. So I focused on that and became one of the highest ranked salons, and it was just me in San Diego in a matter of months because nobody else was focusing on that. And then of course I saw that potential and how I grew into a 6-figure business just with my salon suite with that I'm like, okay, well now I'm creating a new business called Masters of Balayage, and I see this social platform of Instagram taking off. I need to jump on this. And basically I just used it initially as an inspiration board. I put looks up there that inspired me to look at, that I wanted to be able to replicate, that I wanted to be able to compete with. And then that started taking off, and it was, people were looking at it and it started growing exponentially. And then I started to put my own work on there when I felt confident that my work could match what I was posting up there. And it took off from there. And I still remember that day that it really started to take off, where I must have had maybe 1,000 followers, 1,500 followers, and early on. And it was just, a couple followers a week or something like that. Nothing crazy. I'm sitting on the couch watching some movie with my brother, and all of a sudden my phone just starts to light up. It was like, ding, 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 ding. I'm like, what's going on? Ding, 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 ding. It was like I had won the lottery or a slot machine. And it's just like, I'm at Vegas and I'm like, oh my God, Masters of Balayage just started blowing up. In like one night, it was like 5,000 followers, 10,000 followers.
Wow.
Because there just wasn't that much competition on Instagram at the time. And it's like, you see a popular page and somebody recommends it. And then Instagram's algorithm starts pushing it in front of other people. And then we just started to blow up.
Yeah.
What's like the modern day equivalent of like Yelp? And what's an app that you feel like hairstylists and salon owners should really be utilizing right now to get brand recognition?
I think Yelp is still huge. I think Yelp is still something that businesses don't focus on. And if I was going to start a brand new business, brick and mortar business tomorrow, I would spend all my energy in Yelp, because if it was a brick and mortar business and it was geo-targeted to a certain area, of course, I'm not going to care if people know about me in Florida, because they're not going to be coming to my business. It's not an online business. It's a salon. It's a physical, you need to walk into my store, or you need to sit in my chair. So Yelp is still the only thing that I can think of that is really going to help to geo-target your clientele and make you stand out amongst the pack of all these other competition. You could have 40 salons on your block, but if you are the top in that area, because you've got 300 5-star reviews and they all have like 4 or 5, I mean, people are going to go to you first. So Yelp, definitely. Now I'm looking at Clubhouse, which is just, it's interesting. I haven't done much on it, but I'm checking it multiple times a day. I get these notifications and I'm totally like, I'm going to start a group on there. I'm going to do something on there, and you guys did something yesterday.
Join ours, please.
I would love to. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Okay, next Thursday at 5:30. Are you down?
The problem with after 5 p.m.
Okay.
And it's funny because everybody that I've been that people have been pinging me, and I really appreciate the pings. But it's always after 5 p.m. And the problem is, it's like 5 p.m. my workday ends, and I become full-time dad. I'm in total dad mode. Yeah, I can't leave, or else I'm dead. Like, my wife will kill me.
Oh my gosh, no, I totally hear you. And which brings us to our next point too. I want to talk about how you are basically able to balance your work life with your family life.
It's taken lots of practice, and I'm still working on it. It's an imperfect balance right now, but it's more about structure. It's more about having a work schedule. And then once I actually established a work schedule, and we agreed on a work schedule for me, which is Monday through Friday. It's like I'm back working the week during the week, back working the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
but it's on my terms, which is awesome. But from 9 to 5, I can do whatever I want Monday through Friday. And it's not like I could go to the beach if I wanted to. I could go for a jog if I wanted to, but that's also time that I can't get work done. So I do make time to work out and have a little bit of Ryan time mixed in there, because I can't do it after 5. From 5 o'clock till bedtime, I am there to help out, to be full-time dad, to be present for my kids, which is really important to me as well. And before 9, same thing. I'm helping get them ready and everything like that. They're so young. One's how old are they? 2.5 and 4.5 months. So we're still in the beginning stages of it. We're still in the thick of it, and they require full-time attention,
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about like just chunking our time and agreeing on, like, okay, this is my designated work day. This is when I do my stuff, and this is when we do family stuff, and this is when you have your time. And there's no mixing work with that, unless I plan it ahead of time and say, do you mind if I take a call on Saturday for 20 minutes? And I'll try to plan it around like a nap time or something, if that works.
I respect that.
It's hard, because I used to work all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Because when did you start that? Because I mean, we used to communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a struggle for me, because my mind is always going. I'm always wanting to do things around the clock, and that's the entrepreneurial mind.
You get on your phone,
it's tough.
And then you just go off, down the rabbit hole, and then you have a new business.
Yeah, I make a lot of notes in my phone, but I make sure that when I am with my kids, that I put my phone down, that I'm fully present. And for those moments that I'm not, it's the cutest thing. My daughter just looks up at me and gets right in my face and says, "Dada, Dada, Dada." I'm like, okay, phone down.
I love it, like the alarm.
Yeah, exactly. And she's actually my alarm in the morning. I never set an alarm, because now the light hits my daughter's room about 6:30 now. And of course, now that's her wake up time, because at 6:30, and we've got my little monitor next to me, because she's my responsibility in the morning, which is, I love. But now it's 6:30. It used to be like 7:30, but now it's 6:30. I just hear, "Dada, Dada." And I'm like, okay, I'm up. I walk in there, and, dragging.
I love
it. One eye open, and she's got all of her stuffed animals ready to go. She's standing on her bed. It's like, help. And I pick her up off her bed, put her into, she has a big girl bed now, which is so cool.
Oh.
Then we go out there, and I make her breakfast, and we watch dinosaur movies.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Love it. That's the best way.
I don't even know if you've thought about this yet, but when your kids grow up, do you hope to like pass the torch down to them and hope that they get into the same business as you?
Yeah, I mean, I just hope that they are gonna want to follow their passion, and I know that they're gonna see how I work, and hopefully I can be a role model. I don't want to push anything on them. I think, though, by being in this environment where we are entrepreneurs and creatives, but also maintaining a really loving family structure, that will pass on, and then they can make their own decisions. I think the hardest part for me as a father, and a successful father, is that the more successful I get, the more comfortable our lifestyle gets. And I don't want them to get too comfortable, because I know the struggle helps push us and gives us that ambition for breakfast.
Yes.
Exactly.
Like, I don't want them to be some spoiled rich kid, basically, you know? So we're going to do our best to not just give them everything. Yes. Give them as much safety and opportunity as possible. But I also don't want them to just expect everything without having to work for it.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, we 100% like respect your hustle. And I think that's just such a inspiring part of your story. You know, part of your career included really low moments where you were collecting cans to recycle, to make ends meet. So where does that drive come from for you?
I do not know where that drive comes from. I mean, I could say from my father, he passed away when I was young, when I was 13, but he always pushed me to be my best. I think he was a real big part of it. He was always pushing himself to do more. He was very hard on himself, which was tough to watch. He would beat himself up a lot. And I know I do that myself a lot. If I don't feel like I put my best effort forward, or if I made mistakes over and over again that I should have learned from. But I think also being in sports, I was in sports my entire life, and just that competitive nature of, I was in team sports, soccer, lacrosse. And then I also was in solo sports like tennis. And I think both of those different elements, and also just being part of sports and that competitive part of life, really teaches a person to, like, okay, you know, that I need to work on my skills if I want to compete, if I want to be an outstanding player, if I want to be better. And I was pushed into sports, and I definitely will try to push my kids into sports, you know, without being mean about it, but just so that they can see what they like. And I feel like everybody likes some sport. And, you know, even if it's horseback riding, because we have a horse, and Jenny was a horseback rider, and she was a teacher. And I know that that's going to be a big part of her life as well. So maybe she'll compete, maybe she'll do things with that. But I think learning about competition early in life, and learning what it takes to be the best, and why it's important to be up here, not just on your team, but in life, is going to be a good direction for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of your wife, like, what is it like working with a spouse? And I feel like that even makes it harder to end the workday when, you know, you're living with someone who you directly work with, and it's so easy to just talk about work and let that spill into your personal life. It's
easy for me to talk about work. It's not easy for her to talk about work. Like, she used to just have to say, Ryan, shut up. Workday is over. It was really hard to work with her because she's not an entrepreneur. She does not have that mindset. She does not care about being an entrepreneur. She's creative. She is the artist. She wants to like put pretty things together and have and she makes Masters of Balayage beautiful. If you go to my page and see my Instagram page, it's just a bunch of scattered stuff, because I'm like, oh, I want neon colors today, and I want this, and I want it to be loud and in your face, but now I want this to be subtle, where everything has got to flow with her. So she has free reign of Masters of Balayage. I have free reign of what I'm doing. But mixing that together, it is really hard. And couples that work together, trying to find separation between work and personal isn't going to come unless you have those set clear boundaries and you have those conversations, which it has taken years for us to figure out. And we've had our struggles for sure. And now it's even more challenging, not more challenging. It's just a different challenge with the kids. So it's definitely not hard for her to not talk about work after I get off, because she's like, okay, they're yours. I'm done.
Yeah.
But it is challenging. And I can see too, if we were both entrepreneurs, and we'd be butting heads. There's a lot of things that we don't see eye to eye on, and we have to make a lot of compromises. So I think it's about knowing what each other's strengths are and having responsibilities. This is what you're responsible for. This is what you're responsible for. We'll meet in the middle and talk about certain things, but I have to trust that and give you permission to do this, and you have to give me permission to do that. I can't be the one that's just saying, like, treating her like an employee. Because that does not go well.
No. No. Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. And also I imagine too, like, your schedule is very different this year. I mean, we had you traveling so much before the pandemic. You were gone all the time. I honestly was like, what is what does Ryan do? Like, what does a typical day like for Ryan look like? Because you were just jet setting everywhere and doing so much education. We kind of want to talk about too, like how has the pandemic affected your business, your schedule, your flow? And then there's a two-part question. We want to know like how, you know, you've kind of been able to work with the pandemic to make things happen.
Well, thankfully, during the pandemic, we were financially comfortable, so we could hunker down, and that was like probably the best thing for me to realize, to feel like I was successful, like enough to like make sure like something that happened, a rainy day came, where like, okay, we can worry about other things, but we don't have to worry about paying the bills. And I think from years and years of struggling to pay the bills and recycling cans to stay alive, pretty much, that made me feel good. Like, okay, all this hard work is paying off. And when something terrible happens, like, we're okay. My family's safe. We're fine. As far as a business, of course, my salon pretty much died. I wasn't working behind the chair anyway at that point. So we just decided to pull the plug and close that business. And it felt good about that. I mean, we're still paying the stupid rent for that for another 6 months or something like that. But we couldn't get out of the lease. I mean, landlords got problems too. We get it. But we were kind of still losing money on it. And I just didn't have my heart in it. So we closed the business, ripped the Band-Aid off. So that's fine. Live education, of course, done. We couldn't do anything with that. Everything had to move to virtual. So all that money that we were used to getting from our Masters of Balayage classes and everything, and the events that I would travel for with Wella as well, like all that ceased to exist. So I'm grateful that we had started our online education with Balayage Online in 2017, and it was just exploded. And it's been continually growing, and more memberships, and we expanded the curriculum there to offer a 90-day program, which I actually filmed during the pandemic, because I'm like, what else am I going to do? I'm going to create a course to honor people that complete it with the title of Mob Certified Balayage Master. It's a 90-day course that it takes somebody that wants to be a balayage master from the absolute foundational fundamentals to lightning mastery to dimensional mastery and advanced mastery over the course of 90 days, 3 months, with the action items and everything like that. And I think that also helped to make sure that our online business continued to stay afloat. Because initially, once people realized like, wow, I'm not working behind the chair, my salon's closed, like I got to cancel all those non-essentials. And of course, we got a lot of cancellations during that time. But then we also got new members that could afford to stay home. And they're like, well, what am I going to do? I want to learn something. So I guess what I'm saying is like everything was focused on online. It was focused on, okay, how do we continue to make our online experience better? Because this is pretty much the only way we're making money right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw, and early on too, like you were doing your lives on YouTube, and I mean, those were lit. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. I didn't even know you could go live on YouTube.
Yeah. And we actually do that now every Monday. I call it Mob Mondays. We did it earlier, like you had mentioned. And now things are, I would say, more structured in my workday and work week now, that we're like, okay, let's start pushing more time into YouTube, because, I'm getting paychecks from YouTube every month from not doing anything. I'm like, well, imagine if I actually focused on this and growing my membership. I'm like, we could actually make more money from that. And it's just another stream of income. And I feel like every hairdresser, every stylist, every person needs to focus on more than one stream of income if you're going to make any kind of wealth or have any kind of chance of retirement in the future. Because of course, we look around, what happened during the pandemic. If you had one job, one source of income, and you couldn't work, for instance, if you only got paid if you showed up, but you couldn't show up because laws wouldn't allow you to, then suddenly your lifeline is cut off.
Right.
Yeah. So you need to have a lot of lifelines coming in. So that way, if something it's not working, you got something else working for you.
Yeah. We can relate. Relate.
Awesome.
We're trying to do the same.
Yeah. Great.
We're trying to go into different, categories and avenues too. But, and I just have a question to go with that. So with increasing your efforts on, Balayage Online, were you able to supplement the loss of income from the live in-person events, like the hero events, and your education, or get close to it?
We weren't really able to supplement it, but what we were able to do, thanks to a lot of our understanding students that we had to cancel a ton of classes, 20, 30 classes. We were able to push their tickets to further in the year when we actually could resume some of those classes and transfer them to other classes. And some of them we transferred to online memberships as well. So we more or less softened the blow. We didn't have to give, you know, $500,000 in refunds for canceled events, you know? So that would have hurt.
Yeah.
That would have hurt. So we were able to find ways to do that and do whatever we could to satisfy our customers. And I think a lot of people were very understanding. And of course, initially everybody wanted their money back, but I'm like, look, we can't afford, we're going to die if we do it. It's like, we all got to work together here. Come on. Like, let's do this together. How about this? We'll give you other opportunities, other ways to give you the education that you deserve and the mob experience that you deserve.
Now, when that happens, is a lot of the customer service coming to your Ryan Weeden page directly, like in DMs? Like, are you getting?
Sometimes you get DMs. Sometimes you get emails. I would say mostly emails. Most people would just go to mastersofbalayage.com to our support and email that way. Other people that didn't know how to get in touch would send it to Masters of Balayage, the DM the page. There are a lot of great ways to get in touch with us. And I mean, it's maybe too many ways.
Yeah.
But
it does ever get overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. It does get overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine it.
Just never answer the phone when things are going bad.
Just
text.
That's good advice. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Right now.
On our team, well, we've got, I think about 8 or maybe 10 educators, because now we have extensions, which I got to get you some of our extensions to try.
Oh my God.
Our mob extensions, custom balayage, tape and extensions. They are incredible and they're seamless. So you got to try some of those. So we've got extension educators now, which are going to start teaching classes on that, on different advanced ways for placement and certification for that. And then we have our mob educators that some of them come in and have guest spots on our Balayage Online membership, as well as we're going to be starting our live classes again in April. So fingers crossed, everything continues to move in the direction it is. And then we're going to have some 2-day intensive workshops all across the country, our 1-day classes again. And then I've got, I guess, the other big changes. I have a full-time assistant now, which is just, Amanda.
Awesome.
She is,
shout out to Amanda.
She's incredible. She's incredible. And she came in and she's like, first of all, she came into my office in basically the back of our property. It's this little office, let's say, maybe 50 feet from my house. And this is where we work most of the time. Well, all the time. And she's like, wait, so this is Masters of Balayage? She was expecting some like skyscraper because because she was saying, you guys seem like you're this huge company. And I'm like, well, we have a huge brand, but we're not like a huge company. We're a very small company. And she's like, after 2 weeks of learning with on-the-job training, she's like, how did you do all this yourself? And I'm like, I have no clue. I didn't. I was always pulling my hair out. I was always buzzer beating, and I was never there was never enough time in the day. There still isn't, but I can delegate things. Other people can do things. We have more people on our team now that are helping maybe answer comments. We get 100 comments a day on Balayage Online, like questions about videos and training. And it's like, so there's somebody answering that. We've 2 Facebook groups for our program as well. And we've got a Balayage of the Month club that we do on our Balayage Mastermind on Facebook. And there's so many moving parts of it now that each one could almost be considered like a separate business.
Yeah.
So like a separate arm in each business. But I mean, like, yeah, it's exhausting to think about it and like, oh yeah, this and oh yeah, that and oh yeah, that. But now that we have this structure of a team in place, everything is really starting to flow and we are cooking with gas.
I love to hear it.
Thanks.
And as a CEO of a business, like, how would you describe your managerial style?
Learning on the job. It was about a year ago that I'm like, crap, I'm a CEO now. I need to start acting like it. I got to start like putting on pants when I go to the office. Like, I mean, you can see my hair. Like, I didn't do it. I just like kind of patted it down because I just walked to the backyard, right? I'm like, I actually kind of get dressed. I'm going to work now, even though it's 20 feet away. But I'm like, I'm a CEO now. I have some big shoes to step into. And I didn't feel like a CEO. And there are days when I'm like, I'm just really starting to just figure this out. Like managing people, everything's becoming a Zoom meeting now. And this is like meetings all the time now. And it's kind of like what I wanted to avoid, but it's like the whole corporate life, not the podcast. I'm not talking about this. Like, this is the stuff I love to do.
Yeah.
But it's just like, okay, let's work on contracts. Let's work on this. It's like the boring stuff that I kind of wanted to move away from. A team meeting about meetings, just like, there's a lot of CEO stuff that I'm starting to learn, like, okay, this is what it means to be a CEO. But I don't just want to be, excuse me, here we go again. I don't want to just be a CEO. I want to be a leader. I want to be a role model. I want people to look up to me. So I have to make sure that I'm not telling people what to do. I'm empowering people to become their full self, and they'll hopefully respect me because of that.
That's a great approach. That's a really healthy approach. Yeah.
Do you have like a mantra that you live by too, or like a phrase that really like inspires you?
There's one that my buddy and I, who's becoming the I'm grooming him for the COO. It's funny because he and I are just like, something's got to get done. We get it done. Like, we don't, no red tape. We just do it. Right. So that one for us, it's get shit done. GSD.
Short and sweet.
It's like GSD, buddy. GSD.
Yeah.
Get shit done. Other mantras. Well, I've got my love, grow, share that I've developed over the years. And I like lead with love, grow with purpose, and share your spirit.
I love that. Yeah.
So I try to follow that.
You do inspire so many people. And like, what is it like being a mentor to so many people? And did you have a mentor in your career that, really paved the way for you?
Well, it's weird because whenever I get messages that people are saying, like, I got a message one time, and this guy said, "Ryan, you don't know this, but you saved my life." And like, and I like started to tear up. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Like, I'm teaching people how to improve their lives, but you never know that, like, it could actually save somebody, or you see something and you're planting these seeds. And I was talking to Kelly Cardenas yesterday. I don't know if you know him. You got to get him on your podcast. The guy is so much more inspiring than I am.
I don't know.
He's incredible. He's like incredible. I will connect you guys. He's
wow.
He's a new friend, and I love him to death. What was I saying? Oh, about people being a mentor to people. Yeah, it's very cool to be able to help people and watch them grow, and the messages I get, and the people that are saying how much my training has helped them, or how they're making more money so they can live a better life now. It's very, very cool, and it just makes me feel good. It makes me feel like what I'm doing is extra worth it, as opposed to what I'm doing for my family. It's what I'm doing for other people. And even as an entrepreneur, the more people you can help, the more you can do in your own life.
Yeah. And then have you had a mentor?
Oh, mentors. Who have I had? Well, one of my mentors is Brendan Burchard. Tony Robbins, of course. Brendan, I've read all of his books and watched a lot of his training. And then Brendan Burchard opened my eyes to internet marketing and online course creation. And I've been following him since probably 2010. And I've just followed him over the years, and he's been a mentor. Who else? Other people that I listen to, like podcasts that I've listened to for years. Pat Flynn, he's another one. And it's funny because a lot of them aren't even hairdressers. They're not hairdressers at all. They're people outside of the business, which I think is valuable for people in their particular profession. Look outside of your profession, and what are other high performers doing? Yeah. And what can you learn from them that you can put into your own business? Because that's when I learned about creating a course. I didn't learn because other hairdressers were doing it. I learned because other entrepreneurs were doing it for personal growth, for other reasons. And I'm like, well, if I did that in the hair world, that could potentially be amazing.
Right.
Yeah. So I think a lot of my mentors actually came from outside of the hair world. But of course, there's Robert Cromians, these magicians on stage that you just watch and you're blown away by, and Tony and Guy, some of those educators are just, the Mascalos, like they're just all fantastic. And I watch them, on stages and in the hair world. I just looked up to all of them and just like, wow, the way they can just capture an audience, entertain, make them laugh, make them sing. It just, whatever it is, they're up there, they're shining a light on people and making them happy. And that, that entertainer, that wannabe entertainer inside of me wants to have that power.
Do you ever get nervous before you go on stage in front of a group of people?
Not anymore. I for me now, the bigger the audience, the more comfortable I am.
Okay.
It's so weird.
Yeah, got it.
I get more nervous in a small group of people sitting around drinking wine that I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, like if I'm hanging around like maybe 4 or 5 people that I don't really know that well, and we're just all kind of like hanging out, it's like I most of the time I just don't have anything to talk about with them because they're working 9 to like, I'm just like, I'd say old friends. I'm relating this to like old friends that, I used to go out and party with on the weekends because we work all day, all week. And then we go and party on the weekends.
Yeah.
It's not what I do anymore because for a lot of reasons,
grown,
but that's just not my mindset anymore. My mindset is bigger. Let's expand. Let's touch more people. Let's help more people. Let's create new things where they're just like, oh, let's get fucked up. I don't know. You might have to edit that out.
No.
I can't relate.
So I just can't relate to most. I can't relate to most people.
Right.
And I don't want to be around people that bore me because they don't have anything interesting to say.
Yeah, I hear you.
Are you a believer in like manifesting goals, or do you write down your goals, and how often do you do that, if so?
I'm trying to meditate more. I still don't meditate that much, but I feel like I do a lot of daydreaming, and I think that's my form of meditation, like active meditation, where I'll find myself imagining myself on a stage and just succeeding and doing things that are incredible, and I do that a lot of times before events, and it helps. Like if I'm going to sleep, sometimes I might just be laying in bed for half an hour or 45 minutes, but I'm like playing in my head this event that I'm going to be doing and how I'm going to sound, or the podcast that I'm doing, what I'm going to say and how great it's going to sound. And sure enough, by seeing myself succeed, and I'm not like actively imagining myself succeeding, it's just like, that's just what my normal thoughts have been programmed to do. Then I succeed. And I know that I'm going to succeed. I know that whatever comes up, if I trip and fall on the stage, I'll be fine. Cause I'll play it off. I'll be like, yep, that has happened, or something. I'll use it, And one thing I learned in my acting classes was whatever happens that's unexpected, use it, just use it. I think that's one of the greatest tips that I got from my acting coach. So there's that. And then other ways, I do write a lot. I wish I was writing more, and I have a lot of books in my head that I want to get down on paper, or well, not paper. I hate writing on paper, really, unless it's a journal, or like typing. I actually want to do some more books. But I do write a lot. I have a journal like that. I just jot things down in. I've got my notes. Like there's stuff scattered all over the place. But if I have ideas that I don't want to forget, I will write them down somewhere.
Yeah, same. I have to physically write something down too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have some goals you could share with us about like where you see the future of Masters of Balayage, or even on a personal level?
Yeah. Well, goals. I definitely want to find ways to even work less and just have more impactful appearances, more impactful events where I can still have my entire company that's growing and exploding, and I could have people traveling around the world for Masters of Balayage, but I want to even start to remove myself more and just have my faithful leaders take over for me. And I check in with them and trust that they're going to do a great job, and, pay them well enough to where they're super happy, and I can, travel around, spend more time with my family, because I just realized that how quickly my kids are growing up, and it's just watching them. I want to spend as much time as I can with them, and really just like soak it up. So there's that. And then I want to actually do some events like almost like what you guys did for the AIAs, or the American Influencer Awards. And Tony Robbins had this big virtual show. It was like this stage where, have you seen that?
Oh, yes. It's crazy. People are dancing.
Yeah, it's dancing. Well, there's like 30,000 people on the screens, and it's this complete 360 where he's just in this room, and 360 of cameras where no matter where he is, he's on camera and there's people just around on all these screens. And I want to be Tony Robbins in that like scenario doing virtuals like that. It just looks like incredible.
I can picture that. I can so picture that. I love that answer. Oh my God. I align with you on so many things. Like, I'm just like, this is what I would say. That's how I would answer it.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, I see that for you, and you're killing it. You're on track, and, you know, you've been delegating things and being able to like go a little bit more and, you know, hire more people on, which I love to see, because it's really been like just the last few years, that I feel like you actually started kind of doing that, because you're doing everything on your own, you and Jenny. So yeah, you guys are doing a great job.
I think one of the biggest important things that I've been doing more of is saying no, saying no a lot more for things that I don't really want to do or don't see a future benefit for. If it's an invitation to something, I just have to decline it, you know, and the more I say no, that gives me more times for the things I say yes to.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's so important. And how do you make sure you're taking care of yourself at the end of a really busy work week?
I don't try to, great question. I try to do that daily. I try to do something for me daily as opposed to trying to push it off. And I know there are certain weeks and certain days where you're just exhausted and you got to get a project done or something. And there's just no way to squeeze in even 5 minutes to breathe. But you shouldn't make that a habit. And I did make that a habit for years and years and years. And I felt myself getting really unhealthy. I was drinking a lot. I was just not taking care of myself. So what I found out is I have to actually put it into my work day. I have to find a way to, I just joined the Peloton club. We got a Peloton. It's like, you know, you could jump on there. I could be on it in 5 minutes. I could do a 20-minute hard workout. And I'm like, it's 25 minutes and I could go right back to work all sweaty. Like I could do that and it would be worth it. And I have done that. And I feel great just because of it. So I feel like there's always time. We just have to say, like, you have to commit to making time. It could be 10 minutes. Yesterday in the middle of the day, I went for a jog and I felt great doing it because I was just really stressed out. And I knew that I could sit and stew in my office and be stressed out and get stuff done for the rest of the day. But I would still, by the end of the day, I would just still feel stressed out. So I ended up just saying, screw it. I'm stepping out of here. It's a nice sunny day. I'm going to go for a jog. I did that and I came back and I'm like, I felt relaxed. I felt clear. I had a bunch of crap in my chest that I was trying to cough up, but I'm like, but I felt great. I felt really, really, really clear.
Yeah, that's great. That's kind of been like a theme lately of how people are, you know, pouring back into themselves is fitness. And we love that. Yeah.
Well, especially in the beauty industry, I feel like a lot of people work more than they should. Yeah. And I know there are times where it's like you're building a clientele, you're not making any money, you got to pay your bills. Yes. Work your ass off at the beginning and say yes to new opportunities because you don't know where those opportunities are going to lead to. But you got to find a time and a plan to start slowing down. You have to make time for yourself. If you want to last long in this business, you need to be healthy. You need to, you need to start wealth building. Like you need to start saving money. You need to stop buying Gucci if you can't afford to buy Gucci. Just because people are flashing it online doesn't mean you need to do that to show you're a successful hairstylist. You know, I wear like, you know, nice jeans and stuff, but I wear the same jeans almost every day. Yeah. Like I don't really get dressed up and I'm not flashy. You don't have to be flashy to make a lot of money in this business.
That's true.
Yeah. Do you feel any pressure from social media to try to have a certain persona or project a certain image about yourself?
I did early on. And then I realized, you know what? I'm freaking successful. And as long as I'm being me, there are going to be a lot of people that like me, that are attracted to authentic me. And there might be people that are like, oh, he's not flashy enough for me. They're not my tribe. Yeah. You know, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because it's working, you know, and I'm not going to try to live up to somebody else's standards. I want to make sure that I live up to my standards and that my family and my friends respect me.
Yeah. I love it.
100%.
I want to put on a shirt.
Yeah, exactly. I wore pants today. Yeah, I wore pants today because my legs get cold.
Yeah.
Not because somebody expects me to wear pants.
Exactly.
What kind to talk about your podcast, and I want to know what you want your audience specifically to take away from listening to you.
I think I want my audience, the Hairpreneur Show, to learn what it takes to take it to the next level. If they want to actually one day move away from the chair, I mean, who really wants to work full time behind the chair when they're 80 years old because they have to pay the bills?
Yeah, right.
No. And how can you? Because your body's going to be all beat up, your neck's going to be hurting. I mean, by the time I was done with hairdressing, I had neck problems, and I was feeling them today. They came back today, and I had carpal tunnel, and like I couldn't do this for 10 more years. I had to get out of behind the chair. So I want people to know that like there are other ways to be successful behind the chair. And yes, I will teach you on my podcast maybe some things about how to be more successful in the salon, but it's really transpired into becoming more about beyond the chair. Like, how can you live beyond the chair? Like, how can you eventually maintain what you love what you're doing,
Right.
but grow, but start building wealth, start finding that higher purpose and growing into that higher purpose so you can love yourself and love your life more because you're more comfortable in it.
And this is something we ask regularly too. What do you define as success, and do you feel like you've achieved that?
What is success? I think success is, it's always a tough question. I mean, of course, on paper, it's like, well, how much money do you make? Well, you're really successful. You know, I feel like being successful is feeling love, feeling purpose, feeling, it comes down to like feeling. Do you feel like this, you know, you're making a dent in your life? It's a tough question, but I feel like I am successful. I've asked people that question before. I'm like, do you feel like you're successful? And they'll be like, no, I don't feel like I'm successful. But I know like my brand is successful, and like on paper that's all successful, but I'm happy with who I'm becoming. And I think that success derives from that. Like, I feel like success should be defined almost like you need to learn how to tap into your unique self. And if your soul is singing, you're successful.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love it.
I know. You're such an inspiration to us, and we're part of the reason why we wanted to start a podcast in the first place too. So I think you touched the lives of a lot of people without maybe even knowing it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, the podcast journey has been fun. And at first I didn't know if it was going to last long. I started it out, and I was terrible. I think my first few episodes, I'm like, I just need to break the ice. So I picked up my book. This isn't my book. This is another great book. It's called You Said a Mouthful. Tongue twisters, a book of tongue twisters that I do before I go live to warm up my voice and my articulation.
Impressive.
Thanks.
Like
But my first several podcasts, I think it was the first 5. I'm like, I just want to break the ice and just try to figure this out with the editing, with the recording, etc. I just said chapter 1, you know, and try to be as authentic as I could reading my book. You know, it was Sweet Success, How to Make 6 Figures in a Salon Suite. So it was for hairdressers. And I'm like, hey guys, today I'm going to teach you, I'm going to narrate my book for you. And this one's all about like finding your perfect clientele, etc. So then I would just read my book. And it was funny because I screwed up so many times that I was constantly like slurring my words and my learning about what I needed to do to warm up my voice and get everything on the right page for success. And then it started to get easier and a little bit easier and a little bit easier. And then I actually was doing more solos, and then I started to bring on guests. And that was another challenge, because I'm like, okay, well, if somebody's going to give me their time, I got to make sure that my stuff is dialed in so that I'm not wasting their time, so that if my mic's not working, or if my connection's not right, that it actually works. And of course, I'm always looking like, is it recording? Is it recording? Okay. Is my camera, is the battery going to run out? And because all that's happened, you know, I forgot to charge the battery, or wasn't plugged into power, you know, something cut out, it got glitchy. So it's all happened before. And it's pretty much mostly sorted now. I don't have as many issues, but when I first started the podcast, there was a major learning curve. But then once I got guests, I was like, oh, cool. Most of the time they just do all the talking, and I just got to ask really good questions.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
People don't know that you were even giving us tips before we started this interview. So
Yeah.
we really appreciate that.
You got it. Yeah.
There's always an opportunity to learn and to grow and to be better.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it was such a good conversation. I was like, I was on Ryan's podcast and tell me about this company. And then Karen's like, all I do now is listen to podcasts. And I'm like, what? And Karen and I always have talked about like, let's do a YouTube show or like, let's do a podcast. And like, even back in the day when I was first dating John, like he was always saying like, you guys are like the Muppets and you guys need to have your own podcast.
He's like, I told you a fly on the wall and hear you guys talk all day.
Yeah.
And that was like
That's amazing.
6-7 years ago.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
so long ago.
Yeah, I've been listening to podcasts for years too. And I would do it it inspires me more like than listening to music when I'm jogging or if I'm working out. I listen to podcasts. And I'm not driving much anymore because I don't really have anywhere to go. But but I would listen to podcasts as opposed to music. And of course, I like to jam out, with my guitar sometimes. But I love music. But I feel like as an entrepreneur, I'm always just trying to feed my brain with more stuff, and then it gives me more stuff to talk about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you have any kind of closing statements for our audience and nuggets of wisdom that you can give them about, pursuing your passion and finding success in their own lives?
I would say try to find your purpose. And that's a very kind of like a very loaded statement, but it's more about just trying to tap into who you are as a person. Be open to being yourself without worrying about judgment from others. And if you need to get new friends, you might need to get new friends, but tap into what makes your soul sing and find a way to make that a big part of your life.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well,
And if you can find a way to make money doing it, even better.
There's a plus.
Yeah, it's a plus.
Well, we're so happy for you, and just watching your growth and to see everything that Masters of Balayage is doing is just inspiring on so many levels. And I can't even imagine what hairstylists and salon owners are feeling too, because it's just like, times 10. So yeah, we really appreciate you having taking the time for us today to be here and to share your story. And we can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
Thank you so much. This was a pleasure, and I had so much fun doing it.
Yay. Where can our listeners follow you? Where can they support you?
Oh gosh, everywhere. Let's see. Definitely my podcast. If you want to check it out, it's the Hairpreneur Show, available on all podcast platforms. YouTube, my Ryan Weeden channel there. I've got Mob Mondays. We're doing free education every Monday. If you want take the Balayage Masters program, the 90-day course, it's balayageonline.com. All the information is there. And if you want to say hi, send me a DM. If you want to screenshot this episode too, that'd be awesome. And tag me at ryan.weeden.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Ryan. You're amazing. A pleasure to work with. And I learn so much from you every single time that we talk. Something new every single time.
What a rock
Thank
star.
you.
Yeah. You're a rock
Thank
star.
Thank you so much for having me.
Exactly.
All righty.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
You guys so much for listening. And if you guys want to follow us, make sure you guys follow us on Instagram at
Ambition for Breakfast with the number 4 on Instagram. And you can follow me and Brianna. I'm at Written by Karen on Instagram.
and I'm at Brie Armstrong.
Thanks so much for listening.